people, because of the Temptress, because of the Temptress, many of a man and many of a woman, for example, end up in slavery. I know that there's so many people who actually end up in slavery. And what I mean by that is they end up going into a job they don't want to do for money to fund a house that their wife or their husband wanted. They end up going into a job to get the easy way out because the current way out is too difficult. So, you know, there's many, just hold on a second, could you? Okay, so slavery. Going into some kind of slavery is basically anything that with a job or anything like that takes you to this point, and where you end up losing it, where you end up in a job or end up in something that you don't particularly want to be doing. There's all kinds of possibilities. So that's what I mean by slavery. It's where you end up in a path that you really didn't want to go because you ended up basically being led astray. So this is something, mind you, that you've really got to do when it comes to business. I know for myself, I was involved in a job that I really didn't want to be doing. And even now, as we stay in business, every now and again, I get tempted to go back into that lower, inferior energy. Despair. It says that in Proverbs 5 and 7. You get led into a place of very deep despair, a place where you just feel that emptiness, that negative. I remember being led astray by a woman who years ago went completely against my values. And before I knew that, yeah, I had given up my power, I'd given up my truth, I'd given up all that kind of stuff because of despair. So when you go against your truths, you can very easily end up in a place of deep despair and caught up in stuff. Financial ruin, where you end up getting financially embroiled and taken way off track financially. That's another big result. Like it says, it leads to poverty. So you get caught up in the wrong path. And I did this with business. I moved away from all the things I'd promised myself that I would do and got led into bankruptcy and into financial ruin. So that's what happens as well. I basically started trying to grow the business. I went against my truth. I stopped following wise business principles. The Temptress got in my way. The opportunity to go bigger and bigger with doing less and less work, not taking the hard work to build the systems, and not doing the hard work to really build a strong, powerful business, not being willing to scale it back, and even in that case, listening to energies around me that were basically leading me off track. People who were giving me advice, saying things to me that really weren't good influences on me, and ultimately I was left in total despair and financially ruined. So that's the other thing of the Temptress, loss of purpose or vision. It talks about in Proverbs how you actually lose your vision, you lose your awareness, how you actually end up going off track and sit there grieving and mourning, saying how much you hated what was happening. You've got Samson and Delilah, and that is, of course, what we read at the start, which was such a good example of that one. Notice especially what Delilah did with him, and this is the kind of fruit or examples of the Temptress that you will see. So you will see here, for example, in Proverbs 5, it talks about hating instruction, not listening to a correction, not being willing to listen to trusted mentors who give you a very straight word and say to them, no one tells you what to do, rather than saying, okay, I'm not sure about what you're saying, but I'm willing to listen more. Why are you saying this to me? I love it when I get wisdom and smart wisdom from people. I really do. I want to hear smart wisdom. So you've got here, for example, how Samson and Delilah. So Delilah, that feminine spirit, that actually was promised financial reward. And this is the Temptress hitting Delilah herself, where she was actually deluded by money. She got caught up with the opportunity to make some easy money by manipulating a man. I know women who, for example, will go into a relationship with a man just because he's rich, or subconsciously they see an opportunity to get something out of him. So equally with Samson, he's now, because of his emotions and his sexual energy, all he's concerned about is he wants to keep getting that good sex, getting that good energy, getting that good connection. He's suddenly giving up his power. So rather than being truthful to himself and speaking his truth, he's afraid of getting her disfavor, her disapproval. So he starts telling her blatant lies to start with, rather than just saying to her straight out, I'm not going to tell you that. And if he'd said that to her up front, what would she have done? She may have been upset and angry at him. She would have maybe left him, and he would have felt devastated. He would have felt used, but he would have been truthful to himself and he would have moved on. Instead, Samson kept getting embroiled into it. He kept lying to her to try and forestall her off, rather than saying straight out, I will not tell you. He kept lying to her. He kept trying to get her off his case. As we all know, that when something is after us, it keeps resisting and resisting and resisting. It'll eventually persist until it gets to you. Eventually, by now he's so deceived, he's not even thinking logically anymore. He just wants to get her off his case. He just wants to make sure sexually he's nourished and emotionally with what he's getting with that, because toxic energy is very nourishing. It's like when you go on sugar binges or sugar cravings, it's very nourishing for a little bit of time and it's very addictive. But after a time, you end up feeling very sick in your body. You notice that you might have joint pain, you might be getting fat, and the after effects are terrible. In this case here, he lost his whole purpose, lost his strength, lost everything. So you become lazy, you become complacent, loss of diligence, you become apathetic, and you no longer really see anymore the importance of diligence anymore. And I saw this as well. I saw this very clearly today. I was talking about this with my kids. We were talking about Proverbs, how you can very easily become apathetic. You can be expecting money to come to you. This is exactly why I will add, I believe we're in such a mess today in the world, because you've got people living with such a desire for passive income, but it's got to the point now you've got elites doing these vaccinations and actually harming people because all they want to do is make money out of it. And when you understand that all they're doing is affecting the consciousness of the planet, that just tells you a lot about how people are thinking. We've lost our desire to serve and lost our desire to get in there and actively work and build something of substance and value and really earn everything that we make and get rewarded for it. So rebellious, losing that sense of being homely and grounded, always kind of trying to run around, finding this new exciting thing rather than being willing to sit down there and really get grounded. That can be a form of the Temptress. Ill health, as we saw from scriptures, is another form of the Temptress, where you actually can become sick. You waste away, you become ruined. The grief and sorrow makes you feel sick and makes you feel miserable. Rudolf Steiner says the following. He says, spirits of darkness are going to inspire the human host to find a vaccine that will drive all inclination towards spirituality out of people's souls. And he further went on to say the same kind of thing. He said, with such a vaccine, you can, towards the end, he says, you can make the etheric body loosen the physical body. Once that has happened, the relationship between the universe and the etheric body becomes extremely unstable, and the man becomes an automaton. So the vaccine becomes a kind of force where man can no longer get rid of a materialistic feeling. He becomes materialistic constitution and no longer rises to spiritual. Again, what's happening with the vaccine is a classic example of temptation of the Temptress. People are being tempted to take this quick and easy solution to fix their health. Others are being tempted to take it so they can travel, get back to the pub and live their normal life and think who knows what. And of no longer thinking about it and making a logical decision. And you know what? I'm not even necessarily sitting here speaking against it, because if you have gone through and you've worked it out and made your own informed decision, that's fine. But many people are being caught by the energy of the Temptress in that situation. And of course, what we call a toxic reverse Tantra relationship, finally. So what I mean by toxic relationship or reverse Tantra, last week we learned true Tantra was this. Masculine, yang, the doer, hot, sex center, hot, heart center, cool. The feminine is the reverse, and she is the receiving. And what she's doing is she basically is cool in her sex center, hot in her heart center. So the masculine and feminine come together. The feminine helps get the man more into his heart and away from just being pure sex, caught up with sex, and gets him more into his heart and balances him. By contrast, the masculine helps the feminine, who can get so caught up in their heart and emotions, move into that sex center, activate that, bring a sense of integration so the woman is sexually balanced, emotionally balanced. has everything nicely in balance, and she can go out and really be that bright feminine and the bright masculine. Reverse Tantra, it tends to go in exact reverse. The masculine almost becomes yin, the heart center becomes overactive, the sex center becomes cool or underactive. And when I say underactive, when a man's sex center is underactive, he starts watching porn to try and get it back. He'll attract to a very sexual woman who's like the Temptress, who will just purely get him into his sex center. It'll be almost base, all about sex. And equally, the feminine becomes the other way around. So many women I meet today are overactive in their sexual center. Like so many women, and William was telling me this at the nightclubs, he noticed when he went through that phase for himself. He was amazed. He said the women were the ones who were sexual and were like making the hard moves on the men. And the men were very nervous and scared and just standing around almost staring at the women in the club. Because men have got overactive in their heart centers. Generally, the men are the ones craving for relationships and saying, please, I want to go out with you. 50 years ago, for example, I think it was like 85% of relationships were ended by the man. In today's world, I think it's like 80 to 85% are ended by the woman. And this is what they've found on statistics. So men have become way too much in their heart in reverse Tantra, and the Temptress is working big and fine, where the women are overactive in their sex center and shut down in their heart center. Hence why it's so important for the feminine to actually get their hearts open and be in their hearts and allow their sex center to be cooled, but then opened up. So the moral of the story is, if you're feminine and you're a true pure feminine, then you really want to be experiencing pure Tantra, actually activate so you need your sex center activated more. And then men, you'll need your heart center activated more. If you're caught in that reverse Tantra trap, which I suspect many are, then what will happen is that you really need to get things balanced. As the feminine, you need a guy who's going to help you be in your heart and cool down your sex center. And likewise for a man, if you're overactive in your heart center, you may need to have your sex center more activated and get yourself back into pure Tantra and get yourself back into playing the energy game correctly. So death, as it says, it also ultimately will lead you to death. So in the conclusion, really, of this whole thing, reverse Tantra is a good idea, not a God idea. The Temptress will often try and lead you into a good idea, but get you away from what's called a God idea, where you really don't experience that true God idea. So that's the reverse one. So anything that takes you away from your path and takes you away from what you're meant to be doing, then that's the reverse Tantress. And on that note, what I want you to do is really now, let's be interactive now. What I want to do now is just get you to do an exercise before we go into a clearing, an activation, to really clear any shadows of the Temptress in your life. I just want you to think about 2 questions today. The first question is, where is the Temptress playing out in my life today, right now, as we speak? That's the first question. Where is the Temptress playing out right now in my life as we speak? Or, of course, in reverse, the Tempter. That's the first question. Where is the Temptress playing out in my life as we speak? Now, what you do in a situation here is you just very simply think about it and just start to write this down. It could be in your business where you're really being tempted to go off the path. It could be where you're in a connection that you know is right for you, but you're getting tempted to kind of find something a bit easier. It could be that you're getting yourself into a situation with a partner which really you know isn't healthy for you. And you really know that although everything in you says you wanted to go into that path, it's really not the right path for you. So that's the first one that I want you to explore. Where is the Temptress playing out in your life as you speak? The second one is, where are my weaknesses where I am vulnerable to the Temptress? In other words, you may not even be having it right now, or you may only be having some things, but where are your weaknesses where I am vulnerable to the Temptress? I know with me, for example, it's getting caught up in business and moving away from, right now I'm being told to build systems and build something for the bigger picture. every now and again I get tempted to get caught up again in going back to an easy way of looking at quick instant money where I'm not putting time into management and systems. That's one example for me. I've got to be mindful. Another one is getting too caught up in the feminine energy and things like that. That's another example. So I just want you to write them down and let me know what you're coming up with. So Miko is weakness is dishonest men. Yeah, look, it's a common one, Miko, for women and common for men. I would say this is the number one basically Temptress that will be for people here will be generally something to do with sex or love. The second most likely will be around money or business, because generally sex and money are two of the strongest driving forces. So they're going to be the two main areas for everyone here in some form that the Temptress will come out. So just write them down. You can write them down on your paper or write them in the chat, but just write them down. And once you've done them, you can either put them in the chat or you can just type the word mic and take the mic. I don't mind that either. People still going on imagining. Okay, Sheldon, 1, current relationship. 2, business partners that have taken advantage of my kindness. Yep, that's good, really good. Sheldon, anyone else? It's getting caught up in business, wanting more now. Yeah. For me, a man trying to develop an intimate relationship with me, but not on my level. Yeah, that's a really big one, isn't it? I cannot think of any. Yeah, for me, my weakness is I miss having a man in my life. Oh, look, for me, when we're living in a 3D world, it's natural for us to want that companion. And I know for me that was such a big flaw for me on my spiritual path. I kept getting taken off path over and over again for that reason, because we do crave that union and that connection. So yeah, it's just settling that rule, but I will not settle for second best, and I will only have alignment. Because before you get that breakthrough in that journey, you will get tempted as a rule. Before you get that real soul connection that's right for you, you generally will get that what's called the counterfeit first. That's been my experience. So thanks for being honest there. Steve, the fear of failing as a breadwinner is big for me. Yep, I can understand that. Anyone else? Steve, and getting dragged down in 3D and lack urgency needed to succeed. Yeah, I can relate to that one. Grace cakes. Lol, Grace cakes are shouting at me. Steve, getting dragged down in 3D and lack urgency to succeed. Yeah. Okay, anyone else? Okay, so what we're going to do now is let's just go and let's just do a nice clearing. So what I'm going to do is the best way to clear the energies of the Temptress is just to bring in the exact opposite energies. We're just going to invite Mary Magdalene and the spirit of Mother Mary to come here right now. We're just going to invite the divine feminine. I really feel to invite Mother Mary and to invite Mary Magdalene. I'm also feel as well, but I'm going to actually invite as well some of the Shakti Nagas as well, just to come and just to really help with today's. So I'm going to especially reach out to Gayatri right now to come today. And we're going to ask for Durga as well to come. And I'm also going to ask for Kali as well, just to come and be here today. Can you see the image? There's Mary Magdalene. We've got Gayatri, and we've got Durga, and we've got Kali. And we're going to invite the Mary Magdalene through her code. This is what's called the Holy Grail Tantric Code, just to open up the energies. So no one's actually seeing the code just right now. This is really weird. Okay, Sheldon's seeing it. Okay, good. I was going to say, I certainly wasn't any reason it shouldn't be showing. Okay, so here we've got Gayatri and Durga. Okay, yeah, Mary right now. But especially I feel Mary right now today, Mary Magdalene, to be here today. So here we go. Just read this code into your third eye. This is the Holy Grail code. Okay, so just breathe this into your third eye and allow this to go right through your energy fields. Tune in and just feel that coming into your third eye. Because the Holy Grail can be what's called the nectar or elixir of the gods, which really comes and just nourishes your heart. So what I'm going to really ask for the day is that the energy of Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene will really come and nourish everyone's heart and really heal the hearts. Removing all the shadows and giving a deep connection straight through to the Divine Mother. Right through to the energy to Mary Magdalene, to the divine lover, who's what I call the cosmic Christ. Because the cosmic Christ is Yeshua and also Mary Magdalene, the Father and Mother Mary, to bring you into that energy of the Divine Mother and the divine nourishing feminine to nourish your heart. So you actually feel so fulfilled, you just don't need anything lower.